researched it themselves. They just took it from somebody else. And when somebody's a real scholar, come and say, no, you look, read it in Arabic, and you can see. So the Quran is very much verifying Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, as the Messiah. He is the Christ. He is the one who was to come and lead the Jews. But what the Jews at the time didn't understand, the children of Israel didn't understand, that he would be here twice. He came, he left, and he will be back. This is known to us as Muslims clearly, that Jesus, peace be upon him, yes, he was here and did walk with the people. He taught a message, and then he was pulled up to God. He's with Allah. And he'll be back in the last day. We're the only other religion to believe it. The Christians believe that, and we believe that. Who else can make such a claim?
Going off on a tangent here, don't the Jews, they're expecting a Messiah?
Even to this day, they're still expecting. When Jesus returns, some of the Jews will recognize him as the Messiah, and they'll accept that. Some Christians will recognize him. Some Muslims, different people will recognize him.
Now, they talk about this Messiah coming, that, you know, there'll be peace, that the lamb will lay down with the lion.
That will happen.
But this is the same things that we have in our teaching. So that's the Messiah we're talking about.
That will happen.
Jesus, peace be upon him.
It hasn't happened yet, because it will come at a time of war.
Yeah.
And when he comes down, there will be one here called the Antichrist, or the Messiah Dajjal.
Yeah.
That's Arabic. Messiah, from Messiah, Dajjal, false Messiah, the liar.
Now you'll see a lot of crookedness. What I mean is ambiguity in a lot of the previous scriptures, because we know we don't have the originals. But everything, if you study it, it starts to make sense, because you see consistency of the same message. And
the consistency of the message, where it is consistent, is important, because I've measured that up to the Quran. And I found there's no contradiction between Quran and Bible, except where the Bible is contradicting itself, and in those places it does contradict itself against the Quran. But the Quran has no inconsistency, no contradiction in it, and those who try to promote that and say that, yes, there is, it's this, it's that, and all, you bring them and sit with them and talk with them, and you'll find they will run away. As soon as you start to show, what about this, what about that? Do you know the Arabic language? Did you read it in Arabic? Do you know what it is said about that? And they will try to come with weak or fabricated hadith and claim all this stuff. But the Quran has never, ever, ever been successfully challenged by anyone.
Tell us, because this is the last show on this series, and we're talking about the last and final message of the Prophet Muhammad. Can you talk about when the revelation came, how this actually happened? He was in the mountain and he was meditating. Can you talk about this?
Well, first of all, it is important to have, I think, a complete program for that.
Yeah.
And we don't have time in this series. So let us just stay general on on the prophets themselves without getting too deep. But the same angel that came to Mary and told her she was going to have a baby is Gabriel. And he's called Jibril in Arabic. Jibril came to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, just as he came to other prophets in the past. And ordered him to recite. And when he said, and a lot of people in English, they say read. It's wrong.
Bad translation.
It's not bad, it's incorrect.
Incorrect. So it's recite.
Because it could be read, but it doesn't carry the proper connotation. Because it would mean that the Gabriel didn't know what he was supposed to be doing. Because Prophet Muhammad was illiterate. He never learned how to read or write.
Okay.
So why would he be ordering him that? He was ordering him, Iqra, recite. Because finally it comes, what shall I recite? Or he tells him what to recite, actually. And what he tells him to recite, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqal insana min alaqa. Iqra wa rabbukal akram, alladhi alamu bil kalam, wa alamal as insana malam yalam. Allah forgive me for any mistake, but the translation more or less is saying that recite in the name of your Lord. So that's why when we recite, we say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Recite in the name of your Lord, who created human beings from an alaqa. Recite, and your Lord is so generous. And he taught human beings how to use a pen. It says man, taught man how to use a pen, taught them what they didn't know. We said in one of our first programs, we talked about Idris, Enoch. He's the one who this is talking about. That Allah taught him. He was the first of the people to learn to read and write.
Hold your thought there, because I've heard an argument. Someone said that he was choked? Again, going back to not knowing the Arabic.
You're talking about Prophet Muhammad?
Yeah. I had a conversation with someone.
I saw that on the internet.
You saw that too?
What a joke.
Now, we don't want to go too deeply into this, but this is obviously incorrect. He wasn't choked.
First of all, I said we would have criterion that we would use.
Yeah.
Well, I will just say prove what you said.
Yeah.
That's the criterion. When you have verified human beings by name, and we know when they were born, we know when and where they died, we know people that knew them who also verified them. So it's a network, not some random person that you just make up a name and say, this is John and Fred and George.
Yeah.
You know, who's Fred who? George who? We don't know.
We know who these people are now.
We know very well who they are.
So what are they saying in the Arabic?
They say that the message came to him and he was there in the cave in the mountain of light. He was fasting.
He was fasting.
Okay. And what happens, the angel enters upon him and says to him, recite. And he says, I'm not a reciter. Recite. And each time he does squeezing him. But it is said that the enthusiasm of the angel who had been waiting since the creation of Adam for this chance to finally get to see him, he was very excited.
It's like I was excited. Oh, I can't compare it to that, but kind of I got excited to see you, so I gave you a nice little
you did. You almost squeezed me, you know. The same kind of grasp that you gave me, hugging me when we first started this show some time back. You hugged me.
Yeah.
And it was
I gave it that extra little excitement, so I squeezed you a little bit. So and that kind of squeeze,
you guys in martial arts need to be careful, you know. But for sure, this is, I think, a chance for people to realize when somebody wants to disbelieve, they will make up, they will lie, they will repeat other lies, then they will take something from somebody who's even a known liar rather than to consider this because they don't really want to believe in Allah.
Yeah.
So anyway, setting that aside, what makes a person a false prophet? Well, there is no criteria to back him up. Was the criterion to back up, for instance, Ghulam Ahmed? There were many people that knew him and heard him contradict himself. We know that there were people 100 years ago who knew and heard, and even the British newspaper, which Britain controlled India at the time, wrote him up. Because on one of the last things he declared, I think it was in September of 1907 or something like that, he declared that he was God. That was his last statement, because they found him dead in his own toilet. He had what they call amoebic dysentery or something similar to it, and he actually fell into, those were open toilets, by the way, and he fell into it and drowned. I mean, this is this is known.
How about this Joseph Smith character? Do you know
much
about him?
I don't say character like that because I have respect for the Mormon people themselves, and I don't wish to hurt their feelings.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But historically, we do know that he was killed, and there were different reports. Some said that he was shot, and others said that he was hung. And then there was one that even said that he was split open and his innards taken out, which is very horrible. But in any case, he was murdered.
Yes.
And putting that aside, because prophets have been murdered. So that might even cause me to say, well, let's look a little bit closer. But we also know that he had business deals. And he issued his own coinage or money from those business deals. Even in Ohio, they still have records of his actual signature on those bills that he signed out from his funding companies that he put together. And whatever happened to those companies, I'm not blaming him or saying he was, you know, but prophets don't get into those kind of deals.
And if you look deeper, have you looked, it kind of gets weird that Jesus was the brother of Lucifer and that all the human beings are going to be gods, demigods, semi-gods if they... you know what I'm talking about?
If he's a real prophet...
Just weird teachings.
If he's got to be coming with the same message as Adam.
Yeah, so this is nothing that the previous prophets taught.
If it is, show it to us.
Yeah, okay, so no proof. So getting back, I didn't want to go off this
Another thing is the proof itself. If you said, well, we have a proof, okay, where is it? Well, they said it was gold tablets, but they're now in the ocean, nobody knows where they are. Okay, then you don't have it anymore.
Okay, but we have the living miracle, the Quran.
In the beginning of the Book of Mormon, it says this is the one that I have at home, it said this is the 19 such and such version, replacing all the previous versions and correcting all the mistakes. That statement alone
is a red flag right here.